You don't need everyone to believe in you. You don't need the applause of the world or the spotlight on your name. You just need clarity. You need that fire inside your gut that refuses to let you quit when it gets hard, because it will get hard. Let me tell you something real. Your future doesn't begin tomorrow. It starts right now, this very moment. The choices you're making today are building the world you're going to live in 5 years from now. Your habits are not just routines. They are architects. And every morning you wake up and hit snooze, every time you scroll instead of study, every time you let your emotions control your actions, you are letting your future slip into someone else's hands. But every time you rise up when it's easier to stay down, every time you speak life over your own name instead of doubting yourself, you're reclaiming territory. Your life is not happening to you. It's being shaped by you. Every second you live is a stroke on the canvas of your future. Every moment, every thought, every action. It's all shaping what's to come, whether you see it yet or not. Your future is not waiting on someone to show up and hand it to you. It's waiting on the real you to rise up and build it, one choice at a time. And the truth is, you don't build the future in one loud, life-changing moment. You build it in silence, in consistency, in the quiet hours when no one is watching and no one is cheering. Most people want a powerful life, but they only live for powerful moments. They chase highs, applause, approval, without realizing that the strongest foundations are laid in the ordinary, in the disciplined, in the repetition of the small. You don't get to wake up successful. You have to build success brick by brick, day after day, with work that no one sees, with effort that nobody applauds, and with sacrifices that feel like loss in the short term, but are actually investments into the long game of who you're becoming. You don't wait for the future. You build it. You wake up earlier than you want to. You study when your friends are relaxing. You practice when everyone else is asleep. You take care of your body when everyone else is partying. You control your mind when others are ruled by emotion. You pray, you focus, you grind, and you do it again tomorrow, because you know what's coming. You know where you're headed. And even if you can't see it yet, you believe it deep enough to keep showing up anyway. That belief, that unshakable faith in what you're building, is the difference between people who hope and people who execute. Anyone can dream. Anyone can get excited for a moment. But those who build the future are the ones who do the hard things every day, not just the inspirational ones. They understand that the future is not about motivation. It's about repetition, discipline, vision, alignment. It's about doing what you said you would do, even when your feelings change. The future is not promised, but it is prepared. And that preparation happens in the daily grind. You don't win in the spotlight. You win in the dark when you choose to be faithful to the process, when you turn off distractions, when you say no to things that look good now, but would cost you later, when you train your mind to focus on the long term instead of chasing the rush of the short term. If you want a different life, you need different habits. And if you want different habits, you need a new level of commitment. You've got to want it bad enough to be uncomfortable for it, to be exhausted for it, to be misunderstood for it. Because what you're chasing isn't common, so your life can't be common either. You have to outgrow who you were to become who you're meant to be. This world will try to convince you that success is fast and easy, that all it takes is luck or talent or followers. But the truth is, real success is slow, it's earned, and it's heavy. So the daily work you put in, it's not just about achieving something. It's about becoming strong enough to carry it. You don't want blessings that your character can't sustain. You don't want a future that crumbles because your habits were built on sand. So you build now. You do the boring stuff. You wake up early. You track your goals. You build routines that reinforce your vision. You train your body and you train your mind. You stay away from things that drain your energy, and you protect your focus like it's sacred, because it is. You don't let every voice in. You don't let every trend shake you. You keep your eyes on your assignment. You move with intention. Your future depends on how you manage the now, on how you spend your mornings, on who you surround yourself with, on what you allow into your mind, into your ears, into your heart. What you meditate on will either move you forward or hold you back. What you repeat becomes what you believe, and what you believe is the compass for your behavior. So guard it carefully. Choose your thoughts like you would choose a weapon for battle, because that's what this is, a battle. A war between who you've been and who you're becoming. A daily fight between comfort and calling. The beautiful thing is, you don't have to change everything overnight. You just have to change something daily. A small shift, a better decision, one less hour wasted, one more page read, one more workout completed, one less argument entertained, one more moment in prayer. And it compounds, it stacks, day after day. The growth might not be visible at first, but neither are roots. And roots are what hold you up when the storm comes. You are laying the groundwork. You are sowing seeds. And there will come a time when those seeds break the surface, when the harvest comes. But only if you didn't quit during the season of invisibility. Only if you didn't let discouragement become your default setting. Only if you kept believing when doubt whispered, you're not moving fast enough. You have to trust the pace of your process. There's nothing wrong with slow progress if it's real progress. And often, the things that take the longest to build are the ones that last the longest. Don't envy the people who rose fast. Many of them fall just as fast. Envy the ones who are still showing up years later, still standing, still growing, still pushing forward with integrity, not just popularity. The future you're building won't be flashy every day. It won't always feel magical. In fact, there will be days when it feels repetitive, boring, hard, lonely. That's okay. That's part of the price what builds muscle. That's where character is developed. Your future self is begging you not to sacrifice long-term peace for short-term pleasure. Your future is begging you not to trade purpose for popularity. Every decision matters. It's not about being perfect. It's about being intentional. Even when you mess up, don't stop. Even when you slip, get back up. The difference between the successful and the unsuccessful is not that one never failed. It's that one refused to let failure define them. They used it. They learned from it. They got up smarter. They got up stronger. And they built again. You've got to fall in love with the process more than the results. Results come and go. Feelings rise and fall. But the process is where your future is really made. That's where the trust is built. That's where the transformation happens. The goal isn't just to arrive somewhere new, it's to become someone new. So make the call, write the chapter, hit the gym, turn off the noise, meditate on your vision, set the alarm, read the book, speak life. Let go of distractions, forgive yourself for the past, get serious about the future. Because it's not going to build itself. And nobody's going to do it for you. That's your job, that's your responsibility. And you're capable of it. You just have to show up like it. Every single day is a brick. Every habit is a hammer. Every word you speak is a blueprint. Every prayer is a foundation stone. Every sacrifice is a seed. And if you keep planning, keep believing, keep showing up when it's hard, one day you're going to walk into a life that didn't just happen. You built it. One day, you'll look around and realize the walls standing around you were never placed by the world. They were assembled by preference. The choice to take it easy instead of digging deeper. The moment you said later instead of now. The hours spent wishing instead of working. All of it stacked silently into boundaries that locked you inside the life you never meant to live. The hidden cost of avoiding resistance is a life that never evolves. You were not created to stay warm in mediocrity. You were built to endure intensity, to grow under pressure, to stretch, strain, sweat, and fight forward. Anything that coddles you for too long eventually consumes you. Ease is the bait. Familiarity is the trap. And if you spend your days chasing peace without a price, you'll end up paying for it with unfulfilled years. Discipline doesn't scream for attention, but it leaves behind something real, something rare, something solid. The person who learns to command their time, who reshapes their thoughts instead of letting them drift, who locks into intention and wrestles with discomfort, that's the one who holds the keys. That's the one who doesn't depend on luck, or timing, or applause. They're too busy sculpting themselves. Every temptation to stay soft is an invitation to decay. You can't burn for something if you keep running from friction. To stand taller, you first have to push against gravity. You don't need to feel like doing it. You don't need to wait for the right atmosphere. What you need is a reason that overrules excuses. What you need is a decision that doesn't ask permission from your mood. Nothing worth holding ever comes from ease. Every legend you've admired bled for what they carried. You only see the crown, they felt the cross. Your potential doesn't bow to convenience. It kneels before resilience. It demands sacrifice. You cannot rise above average if you're always choosing what's simplest. Simplicity is beautiful in design, but deadly in discipline. The grind will not wait for your feelings to catch up. Greatness is not patient with indecision. Either you press forward or you're pulled backward. There is no neutral ground when it comes to excellence. The smallest compromise always plants the seed for surrender. And yet, how many people hand their strength over to whatever's easiest in the moment? They settle, they postpone. They sit in circles of entertainment, conversation, and distraction. They feed their appetite and starve their assignment. They confuse busy with progress and comfort with peace. But peace doesn't grow in places where you were never stretched. Real fulfillment requires pain, not chaos, not burnout, but the deep kind of strain that breaks the shell around your gift. The secret is to become your own commander, not your own cheerleader, not your own excuse maker. You've got to speak to yourself like your destiny depends on it, because it does. You train your body, but do you train your discipline? You strengthen your goals, but do you strengthen your will? Talent is not enough. Wanting more is not enough. The road is reserved for those who take the harder road even when the easier one is wide open. People say life is short, but the truth is, most just waste too much of it. They waste it negotiating with procrastination, bargaining with fear, debating whether it's worth the sweat, worth the rejection, worth the failure. And while they hesitate, the moments keep slipping. Opportunity doesn't wait for someone to get motivated. It bows to preparation, and preparation is forged in the daily tension between craving comfort and commanding discipline. Stop asking if it's fun. Stop wondering if you're ready. Stop measuring your effort by how good it feels. Start building something in your soul that holds steady when your energy fails you. Build a fire that keeps burning when no one claps, when no one notices, when it feels like nothing is shifting. That's what separates you. Not your looks, not your voice, not your resources, your resolve. The ones who change nations, who move generations, who shift timelines, they don't owe their strength to luck. They carved it. They carved it with their choices. They paid for it in silent battles. They left behind comfort like it was poison. They walked away from ease like it was a lie. And maybe it was. Because the minute you believe that you can ascend without resistance is the minute you start descending without knowing. You'll never stumble into mastery. You'll never trip into greatness. You can't wish yourself into transformation. The path requires war. Not violence against others, but against everything inside you that wants to settle. The quitter in you, the critic in you, the coward in you. They all have voices, but they don't have the final word unless you hand it to them. And no, it's not supposed to feel natural. That's the point. Nature pulls you toward rest. Nature leans into survival. But you weren't made just to survive. You weren't created just to repeat, to exist, to mimic, to manage. You were formed with fire, placed in time with purpose. And that purpose will rot if you don't protect it with habits that reinforce it. There is nothing inspiring about potential that's never developed. There's nothing admirable about goals that stay trapped in notebooks. You must train your inner world to drive your outer one. And that means you'll have to stand in front of temptation and choose pain over pleasure. Not because you hate joy, but because you know the right kind of pain produces something richer than pleasure ever could. Some people will laugh at your boundaries. They'll question your standards. They'll mock your schedule. Let them. You're not building for applause. You're not sacrificing to be seen. You're moving like someone who has seen the end from the beginning, like someone who understands that temporary wins mean nothing if they cost you who you were designed to become. And no, you don't need to be rigid, but you do need to be relentless. Relentless in the way you protect your mission. Relentless in the way you block out noise. Relentless in the way you finish what you start. You can rest, but don't get lazy. You can enjoy life, but don't get entitled. You can fall, but you better not stay there. There is too much on the line. Too many watching. Too much invested. Too many prayers that went up before you even got here. Everything worth having will ask you to leave something behind. And it's usually the very thing you're most afraid to lose. That comfort zone, that little vice. That late night routine that keeps you from waking up with clarity. You can't carry yesterday's habits into tomorrow's promise. Discipline is not just what you add, it's also what you cut, what you release, what you walk away from without turning around. You will never arrive at the next level on accident. It requires deliberate intensity. And if that scares you, good. Let that fear expose what you value more than growth. Let that resistance show you what still controls you. Because the moment you recognize what you're unwilling to let go of is the moment you meet the ceiling of your progress. But ceilings were meant to be broken, not with emotion, not with popularity, but with consistent, deliberate, unglamorous, brutal action. Action that contradicts your mood. Action that corrects your comfort. Action that silences every internal argument screaming that it's okay to quit just this once. No, it's not okay. Not anymore. Not if you want to be great. Not if you want to break generational chains. Not if you want to build something your children can inherit. You can't teach power without living it. You can't model transformation without facing your own reflection and doing the work. And that work starts every morning before the world starts talking, before the voices start whispering, before the phone starts buzzing. That's your sacred space. That's your battleground. Protect it. Command it. Shape it until it shapes you. Because at the end of your days, you won't remember the moments of comfort. You'll remember the days you could have quit, but didn't. You'll remember the seasons where it felt like nothing was working, but you kept working. And you'll know deep in your bones that you earned what you carry. You didn't coast into your future. You fought for it. You didn't inherit strength. You forged it. You didn't wait for someone to push you. You became your own engine. And that engine wasn't powered by hype or approval. It was fueled by commitment. The quiet kind, the daily kind, the kind that still shows up when no one says thank you. Let others chase what's trendy. Let others follow what's easy. You are not called to blend in. You are called to break through. And the pressure you feel is not a signal to retreat. It's the evidence that you're walking into something weighty, something real, something eternal. Don't take that lightly. Own it, carry it, and walk forward with fire. Walk with intensity. Speak with certainty. Breathe with direction. Refuse to carry shadows cast by doubt. That trembling voice inside your head, the one that shakes your confidence, floods your thinking with hesitation, and questions every leap forward, doesn't deserve to lead you. That voice has no foundation. It thrives in silence, grows in hesitation, and multiplies in moments where courage hesitates. And yet people follow it. They serve it. They adjust their dreams to match its volume, not realizing it's an echo, not a truth. Fear will mimic your inner voice until you forget it's an intruder. It shows up dressed like wisdom. It wraps itself in logic, in reason, in the illusion of protection. But make no mistake, its goal isn't safety. Its mission is sabotage. Its reward is your stagnation. Every time you surrender a step forward, every time you hesitate to act, to speak, to begin, you're feeding it. You're validating something that was never intended to lead you. Fear doesn't care about your comfort. It only craves control. And if you hand over your future to it, one hesitation at a time, one rational excuse after another, you will one day wake up surrounded by pieces of what could have been. The brutal reality is that most dreams don't die in chaos. They starve quietly in seasons where fear won arguments it should never have been allowed to start. But there's another voice, quieter at first, but steady. The one buried beneath the chaos, beneath the nerves, beneath the noise. That voice doesn't yell. It doesn't beg for your attention. It stands still. It waits. And when you lean in, when you silence the panic, the pressure, the shallow rush of needing everything now, you hear it. That's the voice of calling. It doesn't manipulate. It doesn't chase. It simply remains. You don't find it by accident. You discover it when you decide that panic will not hold the pen anymore. That inner pull toward meaning doesn't shout because it knows something fear never will. Truth doesn't rush. Truth remains, and the deeper you walk in alignment with it, the more fearless you become, not because the nervousness disappears, but because it loses authority. Purpose doesn't remove fear. It replaces it. It occupies the space that fear once dominated. And the moment purpose rises in you, excuses start shrinking. Purpose doesn't apologize for existing. It doesn't wait for validation. It doesn't scan the room for permission. It doesn't measure itself by popularity or applause. It just keeps speaking. Quiet, clear, persistent. The more you act in harmony with it, the more unstoppable you become, not loud, not reckless, but deeply anchored. Purpose gives you roots. And rooted people don't run every time the weather shifts. Fear counts on you being reactive. Purpose builds you into someone unshakable. One decision, one action, one commitment at a time. It's not glamorous. There's no glitter in building a life that can't be shaken, but there's weight, there's depth, and in that depth there's power. The type of power that doesn't need a crowd to feel worthy. The type of power that keeps you grounded when nobody claps. That's the power fear never understood, because fear thrives in surfaces. Purpose lives in substance. It's easier to stay hidden. It's safer to pretend you're not ready. It's more socially acceptable to say, maybe later, than to take the risk now. But every time you delay action on what your soul knows to be right, you betray yourself. Not loudly, not obviously. Just quietly enough that one day you can't recognize who you became. The betrayal begins slowly. An ignored nudge, a postponed move, a voice silenced. But it always ends the same way, a life that feels hollow. Not because it lacked blessings, but because it lacked bravery. Fear wants you quiet. It wants you small. It wants you predictable. Purpose wants you free. But freedom costs comfort. It demands confrontation. You will have to face the version of yourself that was shaped by limitations, lies, and past wounds. And you'll have to say, no more. You'll have to take authority over your own story. You'll have to stop letting the past rehearse itself in your future. And that doesn't happen by chance. It happens by choice. It's not about never feeling anxious. It's about refusing to worship anxiety. It's not about never feeling doubt. It's about not letting doubt rent space in your identity. Every time you pick up your assignment instead of your excuse, you're breaking the contract fear tried to make permanent. And every time you keep going when it would be easier to retreat, you're teaching fear that you don't answer to it anymore. There's a shift that happens when you stop entertaining hypotheticals and start walking in actual decisions. You stop needing everything to feel certain. You stop requiring guaranteed outcomes. You start taking steps, real ones, and even if your legs shake, your direction doesn't. Because courage isn't about being ready. It's about being willing. It's about saying yes before the facts line up. It's about acting while your voice still trembles, while your hands are still sweaty, while everything in you says this might not work. But something deeper whispers, but what if it does? A fear will always tell you the cost of trying. It will never tell you the cost of not trying. That cost is invisible at first, but it's the most expensive bill you'll ever pay. Regret doesn't arrive overnight. It builds silently in the gaps between what you desired and what you settled for. And once it shows up, it doesn't ask for permission. It moves in and rewrites your narrative. But you don't have to accept that story. You can rise. You can pivot. You can disrupt the agreement with your fears. And that begins the moment you realize that you were not born to repeat cycles. You were born to break them. You are not a prisoner of your past responses. You are a commander of new reactions. And with every deliberate act of faith, you evict the lies that once felt like truth. Purpose clarifies what fear distorts. It brings vision where there was once fog. It replaces paralysis with momentum. It silences noise with direction. But it doesn't scream, it whispers. It reminds you in the middle of the storm that you are still called, that nothing stolen can cancel your assignment, that the darkness is not final, that you have authority, not in pride, in knowing that you were placed on this timeline for a reason greater than survival. You don't need to climb over people to matter. You don't need to perform to be enough. You need alignment. You need intentionality. And you need to starve the distractions that have been stealing your conviction. You can't walk in freedom while nursing every insecurity. You must choose. You must pick one fear-based living or purpose-driven life. Both can't coexist forever. Eventually, one will suffocate the other. The person who breaks through is not necessarily the most talented. It's the one who refused to quit listening to fear. It's the one who kept speaking purpose until it became louder, until it became a standard, until it became the only voice they obeyed. And once that shift takes place, everything around you adjusts. Not immediately, not perfectly, but inevitably. You start attracting alignment. You start unlocking doors that once felt sealed. Not because the doors changed, but because you did. Because you stopped waiting to feel capable. You stopped asking for signs. You stopped retreating at the first sight of resistance. You showed up differently. And the world responds differently to people who walk in assignment rather than anxiety. So let fear scream. Let it rage. Let it kick and claw and beg for your attention. Let it do whatever it wants. Just don't let it lead. You have something deeper inside you than worry. Something more powerful than hesitation. You have purpose, not a concept, not a catchphrase. A fire, a call. A reason that's bigger than reputation, bigger than applause, bigger than money. And when you live from that place, fear doesn't disappear, but it loses its grip. You were never meant to tiptoe through life, hoping nothing knocks you over. You were meant to rise and walk into the unknown with conviction, with determination, with fire in your chest and clarity in your soul. That kind of living won't always feel safe, but it will always feel real. That kind of living won't always feel safe, but it will always feel real. And when you finally stop trying to chase someone else's clock, you'll start realizing that your timeline wasn't broken. It was being aligned. You were never off course. You were under development. Growth doesn't advertise itself. It doesn't walk around announcing progress. It does its best work underground, in silence, away from eyes looking for instant proof. Just because it hasn't appeared doesn't mean it's not forming. Delay doesn't mean denial. Sometimes it means the foundation is still being fortified, the frame is still being reinforced, the future is being strengthened so it won't collapse when pressure arrives. There's a difference between being passed over and being protected. What felt like rejection was often redirection, and what looked like abandonment was often preparation. If your life had unfolded when you asked, it might have folded the moment pressure touched it. But when something is truly designed with weight in mind, it doesn't crack when storms appear. Everyone's racing forward, trying to be first, trying to look ready, trying to stay visible. But stillness has its own genius. When you're not performing for approval, when you're not sprinting to keep up, when you're not measuring your worth by timelines you never agreed to, you start seeing clearly. You stop grasping and start grounding. And in that stillness, in that patience, you discover what pressure was forming. Someone resilient, someone focused, someone rooted. Your process is not punishment, it's construction. Every challenge, every unanswered season, every unseen moment is shaping a vessel that can handle greater responsibility. What you're enduring now isn't in vain, it's crafting deeper capacity. You're being shaped for a reality that can't be sustained by shallow foundations. You don't pour concrete during a hurricane, and life doesn't rush character development when something massive is on the way. You're not being overlooked. You're being refined. You're not late. You're right on schedule for the life that was built for you, not the one social comparison tries to guilt you into chasing. Everyone has a different route. Some climb quickly, others walk slowly. Some rise fast and fade faster. Others rise late and never fall. You don't get to control the timing, but you do get to control the integrity. And when integrity leads, longevity follows. Not every silence is absence. Not every pause is a setback. Sometimes standing still builds something moving never could. Sometimes not getting what you wanted opens space for what you actually needed. Growth isn't always forward. Sometimes it's downward. Sometimes it's inward. Sometimes it's invisible. But that doesn't make it meaningless. That makes it essential. That makes it the kind of transformation that lasts. Stop counting milestones. Start noticing the moments that molded you. The days where you didn't quit. The hours you kept believing. The nights you sat in uncertainty but still didn't fold. That's where the real shift happened. Not in highlights, not in posts, not in external validation. In those unseen victories no one celebrated. That's what proves you're being built. And yes, it hurts. Yes, it's frustrating to watch others pass by while you remain in the shadows. Yes, it's disheartening when the doors you knocked on didn't open. But trust this, your door exists. And it won't require forcing. It won't require faking. When it's yours, you won't have to shrink to enter. You'll walk through standing tall because you endured the molding season. Impatience destroys what time intends to perfect. Rushing only delays the right thing further. When you cut corners, you cheat your future out of the version of you that's truly capable of carrying what's ahead. This isn't a race, it's a building site. Blueprints aren't glamorous, but they're necessary. And you don't throw away the structure because it's taking longer than others. You stay, you continue, you trust. Your journey is unique for a reason. What's coming is not random. It's specifically engineered for your voice, your values, your vision. If you were accelerated before alignment, it would collapse under pressure. But when endurance carves your foundation, nothing shakes you. You don't just rise, you sustain. You don't just reach, you remain. That's what this season is doing. It's anchoring you before the elevation. So stop measuring your value by what hasn't shown up yet. You're not being delayed, you're being deepened. The longer it takes, the more stable it becomes. There are no shortcuts to strength. Every detour, every slow stretch, every closed opportunity is leaving behind deposits of wisdom that shortcuts never provide. People want quick success, but what they really need is staying power. And staying power only comes from endurance. You don't need everything to be visible for it to be valuable. What's unseen isn't unimportant. What's still growing roots can't bloom yet. But it's coming. And when it does, it won't feel rushed. It won't feel fragile. It'll feel right. It'll feel ready. Because you gave the process your patience. Because you stopped trying to look ahead and started focusing on becoming prepared. You are being equipped even when it doesn't feel like it. That pain you keep pushing through. That confusion you keep praying through. That moment you keep enduring without recognition. All of that is strengthening something the world can't see yet. But you will, eventually. And when it happens, it won't be luck. It'll be legacy. Because you stayed when others left. You believed when others doubted. You grew when others coasted. Don't let temporary silence make you question eternal truth. The assignment hasn't changed just because the timeline hasn't accelerated. Your role isn't to manipulate the moment. It's to master the mission. You weren't called to compete with noise. You were born to carry impact. And impact isn't loud. Impact doesn't need approval. Impact endures beyond attention spans. There's nothing wrong with where you are. It's the exact environment your purpose requires right now. And the more you try to escape it prematurely, the more you delay the version of you it was meant to reveal. Your present isn't a mistake. It's material. It's the very substance being used to shape what's next. Some breakthroughs are silent. Some shifts aren't posted. Some breakthroughs don't come with fireworks. They come with peace, with clarity, with confidence that doesn't need to be shouted. Don't discount them just because they didn't look dramatic. Not everything transformative announces itself. Some transformations walk in quietly and never leave. Every delay has a lesson. Every pause holds a message. But you only find it when you stop rushing the narrative. Let go of deadlines you never agreed to. Release pressure that doesn't belong to you. Walk in rhythm, not in rush. Move with intention, not imitation. And in doing so, you'll find your place, not someone else's stage, yours. You were born for your own lane, not their path, not their timing, not their script, yours. Own it, live it, breathe it, protect it. Stop asking if you're behind and start asking if you're becoming. Because that's the real measure, not how fast, not how visible, but how aligned. And alignment never rushes, it roots, it rises. And then it rains. You are not behind, you are being built. Every second of stillness, every hour of struggle, every quiet day without applause is carving out something unshakable in you. You are not racing against others. You are rising into the person you were always meant to become. The world may not understand the delay, but your destiny does. The fire inside you was never meant to burn out. It was meant to burn through fear, through comfort, through doubt, through delay, through every moment that tried to convince you to settle. But you didn't settle. You kept going. You kept building. You kept believing. And that is why your future will not be accidental. It will be intentional, powerful, and undeniable. You weren't just born to exist, you were born to ignite. So hold the line, stay the course, and remember it's not happening to you, it's being built through you.